Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I started this sequence, the Matters of DeCorum series, with a controversial Star Wars take that lightsaber nunchucks are acceptable and even usable, that they're not as automatically self-destructive as most people were assuming they were. I've gone on a couple of lightsaber rants, and I'll do it again at a drop of a hat. But what I want to talk about today, another up-and-coming controversial Star Wars subject. There are so many more controversial Star Wars subjects these days, and I love my fandom, but oh my god, my fandom. And no, it's not going to be what series is better than another series, or have they ruined my childhood, or what. No. I want to talk about the concept of the Grey Jedi. Because there are a lot of different views of the Grey Jedi, and I think I might have some unique perspective on the Grey Jedi. So to begin a conversation about the Grey Jedi starts with a conversation about the Force and how it is traditionally seen in the Star Wars universe. The Force. A mystical energy field that surrounds all things, that binds all matter together, that creates connections between sentient beings and the unliving world around them, that gives certain individuals additional abilities. In Star Wars, this is your magic, this is your kung fu, this is your source of extraordinary powers. There are two groups traditionally who wield the Force. There are many more, but we're simplifying this down a little bit. The caveat, this is a simplistic view of everything, so take this with a grain of salt. There's the Jedi, who perceive the Force as having a light side, as well as a dark side. And the light side is preferable to the Jedi. The light side of the Force allows the Jedi, who become in tune with it, to study, to learn, to meditate, to defend themselves. The Jedi uses the Force for learning and defense, never for attack. It is exercised with peace, with a lack of emotion, but rather with a calm and focused mind that allows the Force to guide your actions even as it takes your instructions. That allows the Force to bring you information even while you are in touch with the universe around you. The Jedi use the Force for peacekeeping and for study and for generally trying to see to it that everyone is hunky-dory. They're the good guys, ostensibly. Then there is the Sith, the opposite numbers of the Jedi. The Sith also perceive the Force as having a light side, but also the dark side, and they focus on that dark side. A dark side that is accessed not through peace and calm meditation, but through fear and anger and hatred and suffering. They dive into their own pain, their own grief, and from it, they rip the burning heart of power that they deserve for being able to touch the depth of the darkness and manipulate the universe for assault, for control, for domination. A Sith Lord is a terrible thing to behold, because by the time you realize one's there, you haven't seen the dark tendrils that they have woven through everything, through their perfect exercise of the youth of their hatred. They're the bad guys, ostensibly. These seem like extreme positions to take on something like a mystical energy field. You're absolutely right. And that is how people saw the Force for decades. That is how we have come to understand this mystical energy field that can move rocks, lift spaceships, and allow people to wield weapons that are in general, more dangerous than people ought to be able to wield. Anyone can pick up a lightsaber and turn it on. To use it safely and with its best effect, you really do need to have a bit of training in the use of the Force so that you can sense the moves that are coming in, so that you can guide your own actions to parry and attack in places that you're not perceiving their defenses are quite that strong. A lightsaber duelist with the Force is a lot more potent than one without it. With Force sensitivity, let's say, everyone can have access to the Force, but only those who are Force sensitive, only those who are Force sensitive can really use it. And Force sensitivity, there are many theories on where it comes from, one of which I'm not even going to talk about. I'll say the word and move on, midichlorians. But there are certain people who have an affinity for the Force, who can hear it, who can talk to it, who can manipulate it ever so slightly. And training as a Jedi gives them immense focus, immense ability to use the Force for defense, for learning. Someone who trains as a Sith gains the ability to use that Force for attack and control. What happens if you leave them alone? Or they're just Force sensitive? Because you're looking at the Jedi and you're looking at the Sith, and they have rules. There's a Jedi Order. There's a Sith Lord with his apprentice. Often there's only 2 Sith. There's probably a few more hanging around the wings because Palpatine was bad at the rule of 2. But there's generally a few Sith, a good number of Jedi in their good days, and much fewer when the good days fall down, usually because of the Sith. But they have rules. I mentioned the rule of 2 for the Sith. There are always 2, shall there be. A Sith Lord, a Master, and an apprentice. It is the duty of the Sith Lord, the Master Sith, to teach the apprentice everything they can, and for the apprentice to absorb all of that knowledge so they can try to kill the Master, and kill the Master when they have surpassed them in power, and then raise an apprentice of their own. It's brutal, but it consolidates the power and it's how things step forward. Jedi have have a lot of rules, an awful lot of rules. They can't form attachments, can't fall in love, can't get married, and need to follow what the council does. The High Council of the Jedi have followed their rules, followed their dictums, because those come from the light side of the Force and from centuries of Jedi tradition. And that is how they maintain their strength and their control over their order. Whereas the Sith have the apprentice, Jedi raise Padawan to eventually become an apprentice to a Jedi who may or may not be a master, may be on their way. Taking on a Padawan is how a Jedi raises in the ranks and eventually might become a Jedi Master. Wait a second. Jedi can't have children. Can't get married, can't have kids, can't form attachments. Where do those come from? Jedi keep themselves aware of, they follow records and use the Force to perceive out into the galaxy and find children who are Force sensitive. And having determined, either through a study of genealogy or sensing a presence or a little bit of both, they go to that planet and talk to the parents of that child and bring them back to the Jedi Academy, train them as a Padawan, and put a little helmet with a blinder on the front of it and teach them to use a lightsaber, and they're going to be a Jedi Padawan when they've gotten out the youngling stage. And if the parents don't agree to this arrangement, well, the parents generally do. If you've seen much in the way of Star Wars, especially if you've seen A New Hope, you're familiar with a little thing that happens when a Jedi waves his hand and suggests something to someone who then repeats the suggestion. It's called the Jedi mind trick. It is how the Jedi peacefully solve conflicts by breaking the will of another individual and replacing it with their own for a moment. You don't need to see our papers. These aren't the droids you're looking for. We can go about our business. Move along. Or perhaps, in a more intrusive manner, you don't want to sell me dust sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life. That's kind of a yikes. Now, you don't have a problem with us taking your child back to the academy. You will miss your child, but you'll be so happy that they're serving the Republic. You're glad that your child's going to become a Jedi, like the Jedi before them. I'm not saying that's how it happened every time. That's how it happened. There are no good guys. There's never any good guys. The harder you dig into something like this, the harder you're going to find the things that maybe break the cycle a little bit. Talk about the codes. The Jedi have a code. It is well codified. It's been out there for quite some time. It's been used by a number of authors. The Jedi Code. There is no emotion. There is peace. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no chaos. There is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force. It's a beautiful code. And it's a code that, in its recitation and understanding of the truths that it holds, gives the Jedi dedication to move forward and gives them something to ground themselves, to center themselves, to be ready. And it's not entirely honest, is it? There's no emotion. There is peace. There's emotion. Jedi are taught to eschew their emotions, to stay calm, to leave their emotions behind, so they don't give in to fear. So the fear doesn't lead to hatred. So the hatred doesn't lead to suffering. They build up walls of rules around the central cores of what they're trying not to do, which is they don't want to follow the dark side. That'd be the worst possible thing. Speaking of the dark side, the Sith have a code too. Hasn't been codified for as long as the Jedi's code has been, but it's still out there, and again, has been used by authors. The Sith code. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. It's powerful. And again, it's a wonderful source of meditation, and a Sith who focuses on that actually seems to be heading towards something positive, even though they're drawing on absolutely nothing positive to use their ability. They have a moral compass that they are seeking a personal freedom through the Force and the pursuit of its dark side. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. You can have peace. Peace is not a lie. The Sith might eschew it, but that's their choice. That's not peace being a lie. Now, is it? Here is where we're having the problem with the extremes. These are extreme views. And in order to have a view that is this extreme, you need to rely on something that isn't necessarily true. You need to believe at the core of this extremism that something is missing, something is wrong, that something that is a problem for you is a problem because it is a universal truth, that there's a lie holding you back. There is no emotion. There is peace. You need to believe. There's no emotion, but there is. And we see the results of these codes being adhered to perhaps a little bit too tightly in the prequel trilogy. Anakin didn't fall on his own, and it wasn't all Palpatine. There was help from the Jedi Council and the rules. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. You can have passion, but for fact's sake, you can also have peace. Peace is not a lie. Peace is achievable. Peace is something that you can have, even if it's just a personal peace. Yeah. Or fall asleep with the rain falling on the roof. There are moments of peace. It's not a lie, but you have to believe it's a lie. If you're going to follow your passion to the depths of the dark side, it's an extremist view. Now, when you introduce the concept of the Grey Jedi to a gaming group, say people who are going to be rolling a d20 to determine their success or failure on something, the first thing that they think, oh, it's a Jedi who can use dark side powers without any penalties? Awesome, I get to do whatever I want. Maybe not. That might not be the point. And that's mechanically what it might be. Many game systems, especially the original D6 system by West End Games, still the best Star Wars system that's ever been out there. There are penalties for lightsiders to use the dark side. There's dark side power. You're using force lightning, that's a dark side power. You're using telekinesis to directly damage somebody. You're grabbing their throat. That's a dark side point. Now you got to see if you picked up a little bit of the dark side there, because if you get up too much of that, you got to hand the character over to the game master, because now you're a dark sider. You're an enemy. You're an NPC. You got to make up a new character because your character's fallen to the dark side. There are penalties for using the dark side as a Jedi. But a great Jedi doesn't have to worry about that, do they? They can go ahead and shove people around telekinesis and use force lightning and use all the dark side abilities you want to, and hey, it's all good. And that's often seen as the point of the Grey Jedi, and it's not. Because a Grey Jedi is not even really a Jedi, because they're not genuinely following the will of the Jedi Council or even the Jedi Code. Closest thing we see to a Grey Jedi in the movies, Qui-Gon Jinn, who's often at odds with the Council, has his own ideas of how things are done, and listens more often than not to the will of the Force. Not the light side, not the dark side, the Force. The Grey Code. There is no dark side nor a light side. There is only Force. I will do what I must to keep the balance. There is no good without evil, but evil must not be allowed to flourish. There is passion, yet peace. There is serenity, yet emotion. There is chaos, yet order. The Grey Code is an acknowledgement that the universe is a whole thing, that the Force is a whole thing, that to divide it up is to lessen it, that to look at only one portion of it, to focus exclusively on one part, and to not only eschew, but punish those who believe that the other side has any value. Well, you're doing the Force itself a disservice. The Force, this mystical energy field that surrounds us and binds us, it has a will. It is the will of the Force. May the Force be with you. The Force has an agenda. Not the dark side of the Force, not the light side of the Force. The Force has an agenda. What is it? I don't know. I can't listen to the Force. And I can't ask a Jedi, because the Jedi has an agenda. Be the Sith. Be the good person. Use the light side of the Force to do light side things. I can't ask a Sith, because the Sith has an agenda. Use the dark side of the Force. Conquer, control, dominate, seek my victory and my freedom. I'd have to ask a follower of the Grey Code what the will of the Force is, because they're listening. Because that's what the Grey does. The Grey listens, perceives the Force as a whole, the light, the darkness, the good, the bad, the everything that it is a part of, understands it is all one thing. And as that one thing, it has a desire. It's apparently a good desire. It wants to flow towards a positive, because evil must not be allowed to flourish, but there's no good without the evil. There's a place for that. Does it suck that it's there? Yes. Does it have a purpose? Also yes. Do you eschew your emotions? No, you don't. There is serenity, but also emotion. You can't deny something and then claim that you have the whole truth, because you are living in a state of denial. You are cutting off a part of you. You can't say, I don't love that person, when you do. Even if it's the rules of the Jedi Order that if you were to fall in love with that person, you must not love that person. You must not form an attachment. You must walk away. Gray doesn't do that. Gray walks up, says, hi, how you doing? Can we have a drink sometime? Can I buy you a cup of coffee? You look like you've got a problem. Can form those attachments. And through those attachments, strengthen themselves, strengthen the other person, pursue the agenda that the Force has in moving sapience forward. If it seems like I'm talking about religious doctrines here, there's a parallel. The Force is absolutely a religion, and the Jedi and the Sith, all of that, you can draw parallels between their doctrines and their practices and faiths on Earth. I'm sure that was pretty deliberate on the part of Lucas. And while there are people out there who don't believe in the Force at all, they're not Force sensitive. They can't reach out and touch it. They've never tasted the Force. They might have seen someone wave their hand, but that's a trick. But there are also people out there who just innately know, who have never been poisoned by a demand that they use the dark side or a demand that they use the light side, who've just been able to see it, who get to hear the Jedi talk about how great the Jedi are and how bad the Sith are, and who get to hear the Sith talk about how great the Sith are and understand that there's a component missing from both of them. They are two sides of the same coin, and they're arguing over the coin. Whereas the Gray will just buy the bubblegum and be done with it. Do I have a preference? Obviously, yes. If I presented it in anything like the way that I kind of feel about it, I kind of like the Gray Code. I like that as an approach for Force users. At the same time, I understand the purpose of the Jedi and the Sith in there. You got to have that immediate code for polarized social groups that are going to cause these conflicts. Sith make great enemies. Tremendous opposition for a campaign. Jedi make great allies, and maybe that's where you raise, and you know, they get the sword, the cool laser swords, and the training, and the telepathy and the telekinesis. That's awesome. But if I had my choice, I'd play a Gray. If that is an element that's present in the game world, because it's up to the game master at that point in time, and depending on what era that you're playing in. But yeah, someone who actually sees the balance. The Gray doesn't get to do whatever the Gray wants to do. Their will is subservient to the will of the Force. They listen. And when the Force needs something to happen, it's not going to be a set of detailed instructions. It's going to get that feeling that needs to happen. And then whatever it takes, it's going to happen. You're going to hurt the fewest people possible, but if you absolutely have to hurt someone to make it happen, yeah, okay. I mean, that's what got to get done. It's a duty to pursue the balance and to drive things forward. And I kind of like that. Yeah. Thank you for following me along on this particular ramble. Longer than I thought it would. Apparently I've got a lot of strong feelings on this one. Interested in your feelings. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. I'm interested in what your thoughts are. Your interfacing with the Star Wars universe and the Force and the metaphysics therein and how it works with morality systems. Have you heard of the Great Jedi? And if so, what's your experience with them and what's your thoughts? Things you'd like to hear me talk about, questions you'd like to hear me answer, subjects you would like to hear me cover, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment, and you'll love leaving me one. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, Why not? My channel is awesome. You want to subscribe to my channel. And once you've subscribed to my channel, you want to hit the notification bell so that you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottQuorum. Consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and may the Force be with you. I'm Scott Quorum. This is What Does Matter to Me. I'll see you next time in the next Matters of DeCorum.